How would everybody like a brand new DC update from your number one James Gunn hater? I love the comments of people thinking I just hate James Gunn's guts. Well, I don't hate his guts. I do not like what he is doing with the DCU, and I will continue to speak out against it. So if it bothers you, move along. Just move along and move along. I just don't have time to deal with the nonsense that people comment about. But let's get into today's update. We're going to be talking about two major things that have been talked about over the last couple of weeks. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I did post a video earlier today about the unboxing of the 1989, well, it's not the 1989 version. It is the 2023 version of Michael Keaton's Batman from the Flash movie from McFarlane Toys. I also have the Bat Cycle coming, so I will be reviewing that when it comes out as well. As you guys know, I am a massive Batman fan, and I love collecting Batman stuff, so I do collect most of that, and it's going to be cool to get the Bat Cycle. I already have Batfleck downstairs. I'm probably going to unbox him. He's going to be very easy to get in the future, but I do want to do a review on that. So if you haven't seen that, I'm going to have a link to that in the description. All right, so I've got one picture for you and an article to show you. And now, as you guys might know by the title, man, Zack Snyder went after the fans. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about that second. But first, let's talk about something else that has been making the rounds for the past 24 hours. All right, so what we have here on the screen is someone's wish list for the upcoming slate of 2024, because 2023 already has 4 films coming out from DC. 2 of them have already been released. We have 2 more to go. We have The Flash, and then in December, we have Aquaman. And outside of that for next year, the only thing coming out next year is Joker. And so, somebody's wish list, and I believe this comes from Our Movie News. They do a lot of stuff. They're getting a lot of traction here on YouTube and on Twitter. But this is their wish list. And this is something I already mentioned in a previous video. And so I should actually take the credit for this because I think I mentioned this before anybody else did. But I and everybody else would like to see them release David Ayer's Suicide Squad and Zack Snyder's Justice League in IMAX. Now, that was something somebody added. I already said they should release David Ayer's Suicide Squad because they've got nothing else coming. In fact, what I'd like to see them do is film the Batman movie with Deathstroke, because that script is already done. But like I said, actors are going to be getting involved here in June, and so that is going to be a problem. But it would be a perfect time for them to release these as Elseworlds. So 2024 could be the Elseworlds universe. Do David Ayer's Suicide Squad, which would tie in directly to Batman vs. Superman going into Zack Snyder's Justice League. There were some really big ties. I've talked about this in the past, too. It's when I found out what they were actually going to do with that film was one of the reasons why I wanted to start a YouTube channel about 3 years ago. People don't know. A lot of people don't know, but I was originally going to start a channel called Why I Hate WB and DC. And it was going to be all about the crap that the studio has done to these films over the past 40 to 50 years to screw up the vision of the directors and the people making the films. And so the David Ayer Suicide Squad is one of those. It would be great to see them release that in theaters, and also Zack Snyder's Justice League. These are films that are already done. They would just distribute them and reap the benefits. They would get nothing but pure profit off of these. I mean, they would advertise it, obviously, but they could get people to advertise for them, and it wouldn't cost a whole lot of money. But I think this is better than only having just one film come out next year. That's kind of scary for them. All right, now let's talk about this Zack Snyder issue. There's another YouTuber out there who, you guys all know who he is. I think some of his subscribers have come over to my channel. But he came out with this nothing other than a Snyder hate video today, and it just dealt with how awful Batman vs. Superman was and how Zack Snyder attacked the fans. And we're going to look at this article. I'm going to talk about really what this means. So Zack Snyder recently had an interview and he got very honest about Batman versus Superman's negative reception. First of all, it got a lot of negative reception because the movie had a half an hour cut out of it because the studio wanted them to release this in theaters so they could get more butts in the seats. And this movie did make well over $800 million. So Zack Snyder explained why Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice received negative reviews. It suffered from poor reviews when released in 2016. As of writing, the sequel of 23's Man of Steel had a 29% critic approval rating and a 63% audience approval on Rotten Tomatoes. Some critics described the DC sequel as painful to watch, nonsensical plot, which is true. When you take that half an hour out, it makes it a completely different film. Moreover, fans bashed some of the movie's casting choices, specifically Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, which didn't bother me because he didn't really become Lex Luthor until the end of the film. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite scenes in that is when Batman goes to see him in prison. I'm telling you, they missed the boat not using Affleck further. Like, holy crap. Talk about a missed boat between that and the Batman film. During a Q&A at Zack Snyder's full charity event, Snyder himself reflected on Batman vs. Superman bad reviews. He said, when the moderator pointed out that Snyder created so many layers in the sequel storytelling, the visionary filmmaker said that he felt that it is the main reason why it caused Dawn of Justice to be so polarizing. The question was, well, this film in particular, you created so many layers for the storytelling in the characters, and I think you went to make an effort to dig a little deeper. You have to want to make an effort to dig a little deeper. Snyder said yes, but I think that probably is what caused the movie to be so polarizing. I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of people went into the movie for going like, oh, it's the superhero romp, right? Let's have fun with it. Which it definitely was something deeper than that. Snyder then pointed out that he delivered a superhero film that the viewers really need to pay attention to, admitting that it was not cool for the audience. It's not necessarily, that's not what he was really referring to. It was more the studio didn't want him to do this stuff. It was the studio that gave him grief, and some of the reviewers did too. They did talk about that at length during the SnyderCon. And he said, and we gave them this sort of hardcore deconstructivist, if I can talk right, heavily layered, experimental modern mythology superhero movie that you really need to pay attention to. That's not cool for them. That's not something anybody wanted to do. They were like, what? No, that's exhausting. How about, why do they fight at night? I hate that. Which is a ridiculous criticism. Again, they made the point in the film, or at the SnyderCon, that if Batman's going to go to all this planning like he did in the film, and he was meticulous with his planning, he's not going to do it during the day. That's not Batman. That's one of my gripes about what's happening with the Batman scenes in the Flash movie. Batman's almost always out in the light, which is very, very weird. Meanwhile, Greg Silverman, a former Warner Brothers executive who oversaw Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, previously agreed with a tweet claiming that the lack of acclaim for Snyder's DC films is actually due to critics' view of Snyder, which is true. In fact, in other countries, Rotten Tomatoes shows the audience score, not the critic score. And the critic score here in America is often at odds with what the audience is like. If you look at Black Adam, the audience loved Black Adam, but the critics did not. In his tweet, Silverman expressed that because Snyder is a decent, approachable human being, he didn't fit into the mold of an auteur. Auteur. I couldn't agree more. My suspicion always was that Zack's kindness, openness, and enthusiasm create an environment for critics to undervalue his work. Because Zack is he's a very humble, more laid-back kind of person. He will take the criticism and not snap back at you because he is a decent, approachable human being. He didn't fit that mold. So he said it should be the opposite. Will Zack Snyder return to create more superhero films? Well, yeah, if you watch the SnyderCon, he would come back. He even said he would. He does want to finish it. So we had this YouTuber just going on hate that Snyder attacked the fans. He did not. You know who attacks the fans? Actually, you've got James Gunn does. I even made a comment in his video that he needs to talk about the utter failure of James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and let's talk about why that movie failed drastically, like dramatically. It lost so much money, and I'm sick and tired of people saying it came out during a pandemic. Yes, there were other movies that came out during the pandemic that made a heck of a lot more money that people went to see. So it was a terrible, terrible film, and it just, for the few people that saw it, they may have liked it, but not very many people saw it. It was a bomb. It was a failure, but yet that's the guy who's in charge of the DC universe. I'm sick and tired of people talking about how bad Batman vs. Superman is. They're talking about a film that is now almost 10 years old. It's 7 years old. And you're sitting here going after that film instead of talking about what's happening currently. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 didn't make nearly as much money as Disney was hoping it would, and that it would. And I think it's going to have a massive drop-off in the second week. Now, a lot of people just attack me saying I hate Gunn. They clearly did not see my review for that film. It was my second favorite Guardians of the Galaxy film, and I liked it quite a bit. So for people to come after me and say it's just because I hate Gunn, you're so full of crap. Just knock it off. Just please go somewhere else. Bother other people. I don't want to see the negative crap on my page. I'm starting to delete some of that stuff because it's ridiculous to even have to respond to. They're attacking other people on the channel that like this stuff. People are going to like what they're going to like. Just get over it, okay? Move along. Take that energy and go bother other people, okay? Don't do it here. I love DC stuff. I do not like what Gunn is doing, and I'm almost 90% sure his Superman movie is going to tank, and it's going to be terrible. And I'm almost hoping that DC burns at this stage. I just want somebody who I want it to fail so bad that somebody else can pick it up. And I want a group of people to pick it up that actually care about these characters. I don't think James Gunn does. I really don't. Based on what I saw him do with the interactions of Justice League and Peacemaker, the way Peacemaker was in Suicide Squad, I don't think he respects DC properties. I really don't. And you're not going to change my mind on that. I've seen enough. Why he's in charge is beyond me. But, as David Zaslav said, he's on a mission from God, which, yes, I know many people commented on this. It's a Blues Brother thing. But how did that end up in the film? Okay? David Zaslav is not as smart as he's not as smart as he thought he was going to be making that comment. Just, we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But I don't think I'm going to be wrong. And we're going to see what happens. I want somebody who actually cares about these. And David Zaslav said he did, but all his actions show otherwise. So we'll see what happens. As the news gets released, I will be doing more videos. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified as I have new videos go up.